Well, it's another warm welcome back once again, all my vintage dirt bike enthusiasts, and thank you all once more for your continuing support of my classic dirt bike TV channel. Now, in my next video posting, we're going racing with the Scottish Classic Motorcycle Racing Club as we take in some of their racing action from round 9 of their 2018 Racing Championship. Now, this event was held at the Scarfoot Farm in Plumpton, Penrith on Sunday, the 14th of October. Now, in this clip we will see racing from the pre-68, pre-1975 and the big pre-1984 classes. And so our first race is the combined pre-68, pre-75 up to 300cc, and of course racing for those pre-1977 bikes. So without further delay, let's jump right into the action. And as you can see, it's an almost superb day for classic motocross here at Scarfoot Farm in Penrith, as race 1 is now under starters orders. And as they leave the line, it's a very good start from Peter Maxwell there, number 217 on the 400 Michael, followed by Derek McCauley and the late Ian Robertson. So as they make the turn and head up the hill, it's Peter Maxwell, number 217 on the 400 Michael, followed by Derek McCauley, number 21 on the Bultaco 250 Persang. Ian Robertson is in third. Now remember, this is a combined class race. We have 3 different classes racing in this particular race, so they will be scored individually after their checkered flag positions. Now we're looking at number 100 there. That's Ian Robertson, who we sadly lost to a terrible accident in 2019, but it's great to see Ian in action again, riding his old YZ 360 Yamaha. So as we look towards the front runner, which at this time is Derek McCauley, number 29 on the Bultaco 250 Persang. Derek, of course, is from Arbroath in Scotland and absolutely loves these old Bultaco Persangs. So it's Derek McCauley first, second Ian Robertson on the 360 Yamaha YZ, with Peter Maxwell there, number 217 on the 400 Michael. And it's thanks to club member Ian Ridley and the rest of his crew for building this superb racetrack here at Penrith. We had an absolutely horrendous Saturday night with driving rain, and this track is in absolutely superb condition considering the rain that we had here the previous night. But there is your race leader. It's Derek McCauley on the 250 Bultaco. It looks like Derek's got some kind of problem with his Spanish bull toe. Number 217 there, that's Peter Maxwell on the 400 Michael, which looks like about a 1974 bike. Now coming towards us there, number 546 is Lee Johnson, on his little KX Kawasaki. And there we have Ian Robertson, a very quick rider, Ian, when he was racing at these Scottish classic events. It looks like Derek McCauley is heading towards a DNF on his little Bultaco. Now number 57 on the little Suzuki is a rider that wasn't listed in the day's programme, but seems to be enjoying himself on that little Suzuki with the tailpipe taken from what looks like an RD 250 Yamaha. Now your current race leader is now Ian Robertson, number 100, and this little 360 Yamaha is a bike that Ian built through the winter of 2017-2018 to race in this year's championship, and Ian rode superbly all season on this very fast little bike. as Derek McCauley just looks like Derek's just coasting and hoping to get a few points. Lee Johnson once again on the very nimble and very quick little KX Kawasaki. This is just one of the many bikes, of course, that Lee brings to these race events, but he's chosen the Kawasaki for this particular round 9 event. Okay, it looks like it's going to be win number 1 of the day for Ian Robertson, number 100 here on the 360 Yamaha. Okay, that was race 1. We move directly on to race 2. Now this is the pre-1968 class, and these are the vintage bikes of this class, of course, with some very quick riders on top of these machines. Now we're just waiting to get the all clear from the starting marshal to say it's good to go. Everything looking good. Look out for the bell boys in this particular race. So as they leave the line, it looks like Liston Bell, number 98, who takes the whole shot, with Peter Dobinson in second place. Lewis Bell going round the outside. And so as they head up the hill, it looks like it's Liston Bell first, Lewis Bell second, Peter Dobinson in third place. Number 164 there is Stuart Riddle on that Twinport CZ. And so it looks like most of the riders have negotiated the first 2 or 3 turns at the start, as we look towards the far side of the track to pick up our race leader, which looks like Liston Bell, riding what I think is his 500 Jawa bike. Second place is Lewis Bell, number 9. Third is Peter Dobinson, number 41, on the Rickman Triumph. Number 122 is Fergus Moody, Steve Dent going through there. Other riders coming through are Tommy Anderson, Stuart Riddle, Brian Aird there, number 71 on that BSA. But here is your race leader. It's number 98, Liston Bell, followed by number 9, who is Liston's younger brother, Lewis, on that very big and very powerful 500 Jawa single. These bikes absolutely well suited to these kind of track conditions. Number 41 there, Peter Dobinson, pulling a nice little wheelie going up the hill on his Rickman Triumph. And we'll see if we can pick up a few of the other riders as they make the turn. That's Tommy Anderson going through. Number 89 is Mike Bell, the father of Lewis and Liston, and number 51 was Ian Ridley. So as we look towards the far side of the track, it's still Liston Bell, your race leader on that big 500 Jawa single, going round the track speedway style, with Lewis in second position on a very similar machine. Now coming towards us, that's Fergus Moody on the BSA. It looks like Steve Dent has now passed Peter Dobinson for that position, but Peter tries to go round the outside as they both head into the turn. Very tricky bit at the bottom of the track there, but Peter Dobinson looks like he's taken that position back from Steve Dent. Now, number 66 there is Jim McQuillian from Galashiels on the Scottish borders, and looks like Jim is riding an old BSA at this round 9 event here at Penrith. So there we have the battle for the race lead, and it looks like Lewis is now taking the lead from his older brother Liston. This could be a good battle towards the checkered flag as these both slip and slide their way around this Scarfoot Farm racetrack, but it looks like it could be Lewis who is going to hold on to the win in this first pre-1968 class race. There is your 4th placed rider, that's Peter Dobinson, who is now taking that place back from Steve Dent. But of course the curse of the commentators strikes again, as Murray Walker used to say. Every time Murray used to say a driver was doing well, he would spin off the track. It looks like that's what's happened to Peter here, but Peter's only lost one place there and he's back up and running. So here is your race leader. It's number 9, Lewis Bell, giving that big Jawa 500 a handful, and looking good for the first win of the day in this pre-1968 class. Now your new second placed rider will now be this man here, number 122. That's Fergus Moody, riding that beautiful and very quick BSA. Fergus, of course, a very quick rider with the Scottish Classic Motorcycle Racing Club, heading towards a second place finish in this pre-1968 class race. Steve Dent just going through the turn. Now number 164 there is Stuart Riddle on that lovely 1965 twin port CZ. Stuart, of course, been riding these CZs for many years and will ride nothing else but CZs at these kind of meetings. Now it looks like Liston has managed to get his big Jawa up and running again, but looks like he's lost quite a few places in this particular race, so hopefully he'll make up for his misdemeanor in the second race. Steve Dent there, number 585, coming towards us, riding of course another Faber BSA. Fergus Moody, looks like Fergus is now taking the checkered flag with Steve Dent close behind. Tommy Anderson going through, who normally rides a Husqvarna. Looks like he's on an old borrowed Rickman Matisse at this particular event. Okay, next up we have the pre-1975 class. Now there's some very quick riders in this particular racing class, and look out for Stuart Roden on that big Clues CCM. We also have Jonathan Bethel, one of the sons of the late and great CCM rider John Bethel. We also have Keith Barnes there, number 55 on the second from the outside right. So some very quick riders in this class. So as they leave the line, looks like a good start by Stuart Roden, number 20 on the CCM. As they all head down into turn 2, it's Stuart Roden in first place. Lewis Bell's coming through. Looks like Lewis Bell, number 9 there, has taken the lead on the Alan Clues CCM. Jonathan Bethel in second. Stuart Roden there in fourth, with Gary Smith, number 15 on that CZ. And so as we look towards the far side of the track to pick up our race leader in this first pre-1975 class race here at Scarfoot Farm, it looks like it's still Lewis Bell, this time of course riding that Alan Clues CCM. Jonathan Bethel second place, number 10 John Fleming in third, Stuart Roden in fourth, Gary Smith in fifth, and number 55 is Keith Barnes, also riding a Clues Stroker. But here is your race leader in this first pre-1975 class race. It's number 9 Lewis Bell, riding that Alan Clues derived CCM. Second is Jonathan Bethel, number 44, also riding a CCM. Jonathan riding with his father's race number on the bike, the famous number 44. Keith Barnes going through there, number 55, but as we look, we see it's still Lewis Bell, your race leader, number 9. Still giving it handfuls on that big 500 BSA derived Alan Clues CCM. Absolutely beautiful bikes these to ride. So there's your race leader. It's number 9, Lewis Bell. Looks like second place is John Fleming. Stuart Roden is third. Number 55 here is Keith Barnes on the Clues Stroker. Now these Stroker bikes were of course the very first machines that Alan Clues ever built, and that was before he even registered the name Clues Competition Machines. Now number 153 in the front is Jim Allison on a CCM, and Ian Stainton, number 125, is also riding one of these Alan Clues classics. So here is your race leader. It's still Lewis Bell, number 9, riding superbly, and these big 4-stroke machines ideally suited to these slick and slidey conditions here at Scarfoot Farm in Penrith. Now your second place man still looks like it's number 44, Jonathan Bethel, looking very comfortable in that second place position. Third should be John Fleming on the CZ. Fourth will be Keith Barnes on the Clues Stroker, and it looks like Keith is looking to make a move on John Fleming. So it's Keith Barnes' 4-stroke versus John Fleming's 2-stroke for that particular position. But here is your race leader, still Lewis Bell, still giving it some on that very quick CCM, and Lewis looking very comfortable for another win here in the pre-1975 class. Second place man is still Jonathan Bethel, number 44. Third is John Fleming on the CZ. Keith Barnes going through there, number 55, riding that Clues Stroker superbly. And so as the riders make their way around the track for their last and final lap, we're looking at number 44, second place man, that's Jonathan Bethel. Third there is John Fleming, number 10 on the CZ, with Keith Barnes, number 55, on that Clues Stroker in fourth. Now number 115 here is Gary Smith on the AMD sponsored 360 CZ machines. Gary, of course, loves these Czechoslovakian CZ. So as we look towards the race leader to take the checkered flag for yet another win, it's number 9, Lewis Bell, who takes this first pre-1975 class race of the day. Okay, next up we're on to the pre-1984 class. This class, of course, also known as the Twin Shock class, but the Scottish Classic Motorcycle Racing Club call it the pre-1984 class. Now we're just waiting on our starter, Tom Lewis, getting the okay to let the bikes go. Good collection of machines here today in this class. So as they all head up the hill to make it to turn 1. That's quite a good start from Gordon Forbes there on the inside of the racetrack. Andy Malach going through there, number 43. As the riders head up the hill, it looks to me like it's Ryan Glendinning, number 350, who is your race leader on the 81 490 Michael, as they all make their way down to head to the far side of the track. So there is your race leader. It looks to me like it's number 350, Ryan Glendinning, who is very quick on this 1981 490 Michael. Second position looks like David Loudon, number 75. Graham Smith going through there on the Suzuki. Just pick up a few of the other riders as they make their way through. But as they cross the line to complete lap 1, it's still Ryan Glendinning on that very quick 490 German-built Michael. Very popular race bikes these for the Twin Shock boys. These super fast 490 Michaels. Number 75 is David Loudon on the YZ Yamaha. Graham Smith going through. That's John Stokes also going through there. And a couple of riders coming up the hill. We have Gordon Forbes going through. There's Andy Malik on the 500 Armstrong. But your race leader is still number 350. That's Ryan Glendinning. Absolutely flying on this 81 490 Michael. Very, very popular choice of bikes for these Twin Shock racers. Second place should be David Loudon on the YZ Yamaha going through. Third place should be John Stokes on the 81 Michael. Fourth place is Graham Smith on the Suzuki. But as I mentioned, the conditions here at Scarfoot Farm are unbelievable considering the amount of water that was placed on this track the previous day. So once again we look for our race leader, and here he is. It's still number 350, Ryan Glendinning. David Loudon looks like he's closing in and looking to challenge Glendinning for this first race win of the pre-1984 class. But Ryan Glendinning holding off David Loudon's YZ Yamaha. Very quick rider, David, of course, and David was our club champion in this particular year, and rode superbly all season. Now coming towards us is number 95, that's Gary Sowerby, also riding well on one of these 81 490 Michaels. Number 43 is Andy Malloch. Gordon Forbes going through there. Some very quick riders in this pre-1984 class race, but this is a good battle between Ryan Glendinning and David Loudon for this first race of the pre-1984 class here at Scarfoot Farm. It looks like Ryan's going to have to do really well to keep David Loudon behind him on this very quick and nimble YZ Yamaha. Now this is another good battle developing between number 156, I think that's David Bateman at the front there on the XR 500 Honda, followed by number 93, that's Nigel Sowerby on the 490 Michael. So it's a 4-stroke Honda versus the big 2-stroke of Nigel Sowerby's. And so as the rest of the chasing pack make their way across the start and finish line, it's Gordon Forbes going through. Number 585 there is Steve Dent, this time of course riding a CR 250 Honda. So we look towards the far side of the track as we check out our race leader. It's still Ryan Glendinning on the 81 490 Michael, who is your race leader, followed closely by number 75, that's David Loudon on that very quick YZ Yamaha. Now David has two YZ Yamahas here at Penrith, and I'm not sure if this is his 490 or his 465 that he's actually riding. Now here is David Bateman once again, number 156 on the big 4-stroke Honda. Now it looks distinctly like Ryan Glendinning has had some kind of off-track excursion, or maybe went too wide on one of the turns, because your new race leader is this man here, number 75, David Loudon on the YZ Yamaha. But Ryan Glendinning is still in there close behind So this could be a very good race to the checkered flag on this last and final lap of the first pre-1984 class race. So with slightly more than half a lap to go, we look to the far side of the track. It's still David Loudon who has the advantage over number 350. That's Ryan Glendinning on the 81 490 Michael, but David Loudon looks like he's got enough distance to take the win in this first pre-1984 class race, but just a few turns to go to the checkered flag, and you can see it's going to be a win for David Loudon with Ryan Glendinning in second position. Okay, next up we are back to the combined pre-60s, pre-75 up to 300cc, and of course the pre-1977 class. Now, not too many riders in this particular class, as you would expect with these older machines, but nevertheless some very good riders waiting to take to the track. Number 100 there, Ian Robertson. 217 is Peter Maxwell. We have another few riders. Looks like Derek McCauley can't get his 250 Bultaco Persang started for this race. And looks like we're going to continue without Derek. So as they leave the line, it's another excellent start for Peter Maxwell on that 400 Michael. Ian Robertson is in second as they all head down the hill to turn at the pylon. It's still Peter Maxwell on the Maiko, your race leader. Ian Robertson on the 360 Yamaha is second. Just trying to pick up some of the riders. That number 57 is the Suzuki rider I couldn't name earlier, so apologies for that, but he's doing well on that little Suzuki. So as we look to the far side of the track, it's still Peter Maxwell being hounded by Ian Robertson, number 100 on the 360 Yamaha. A very quick and very nimble little bike this of Ian Robertson's, which of course was based on an old 360 Yamaha road bike. Now it looks like our friend number 57 on the Suzuki has a bit of a mechanical issue, and I don't know where he got that exhaust pipe, but I don't think it's particularly the right one for that machine there. Ian Robertson seems to be going through past Peter Maxwell as they head down the hill. Ian is now your race leader. Of course, Ian won the first race of this combined class race in the first race of the day. Riding very well on this very quick and very nimble little machine. So it's still Peter Maxwell in second position on the Maiko, riding very well in this second race. Now that's Lee Johnson once again on the little KX Kawasaki. Lee doing very well, sitting there very nicely in third position. And there's your track marshal, Dougie Meek, taking a well-earned break. But you have to say it was a sad loss for the Scottish Classic Motorcycle Racing Club, losing this great rider, Ian Robertson, in June of 2019 when he suffered a freak accident while sorting his camper van. But he was a very quick, very cheerful man around the paddock, and many of the Scottish Classic riders miss Ian's riding skills and cheerful banter to this very day. Now number 166 I think is Jim McQuillian once again, but looks like he's riding an old Bultaco this time. He was riding a BSE I think in that first race, but it looks like he's switched machines. Lee Johnson just going through again. Now here's a race leader. It's still Ian Robertson leading Peter Maxwell. So it's a little DT 360 Yamaha two-stroke taking on Peter Maxwell's 400 Michael. It looks like Peter Maxwell still wants to take the race win in this race, as he seems to be closing up on Ian Robertson. So as we look to the far side of the track, it's still Ian Robertson, your race leader, from Peter Maxwell. Now of course Ian, when he raced in the UK, didn't always race in Scotland. He raced in the south of England and even abroad at times, and a very quick rider. So as Ian Robertson comes round to take his second win of the day, Peter Maxwell looks like he's going to try and steal it, but somehow doesn't manage it. So it's Ian Robertson in first, with Peter Maxwell in second. Okay, moving right along, we're on to the second of the pre-1968 class races of the day. Of course, another pre-68 class race to come before the lunch break. So as the riders line up and head up the hill, looks like another good start by the Bell brothers of Liston and Lewis, as they all head down to make the turn at the pylon. And so as we look towards the far side of the track to pick up our race leader, it is Liston Bell who is your race leader. Now I'm not sure if Liston is actually riding his big Jawa in this particular race, because for me personally it's quite confusing, because these Bell brothers have a multitude of different bikes to choose from, and it's almost quite hard to keep up with the many different machines they're riding. But this number 9 machine of Lewis Bell is almost certainly his big 500cc Jawa machine. And you can see just how much of a lead already the two Bell brothers have on the rest of this chasing pack. Number 89 going through, that's Mike Bell on the big BSA Gold Star. Number 122 is Fergus Moody. 585 is Steve Dent. Number 3 is Tommy Anderson. Number 44 is Peter Dobinson. Number 71 is Brian Aird. And 89, Mike Bell. Number 164 is Stuart Riddle. 51 is Ian Ridley. And number 72 is Philip Hardesty. Now once again it looks like we've lost Liston Bell in this particular race. There doesn't seem to be any sign of him, with number 9 Lewis out in front on his own here on his big Jawa. So it looks like Liston has had some kind of mechanical problem with that big 500 machine of his. But this is the race leader. It's Lewis Bell who is slipping and sliding his big 500 Jawa around the Scarfoot racetrack. Number 122 there, that's Fergus Moody. Steve Dent, number 585, they are challenging for track position. So this is your second and third place position riders. Now this should be quite an easy run to the checkered flag in this race for Lewis Bell, as he already has a substantial lead on Fergus Moody and Steve Dent in second and third position. But very quick, these big 500 Jawa machines. I'm not sure if this particular bike is running on methanol. Chances are it is, but I don't personally know. But looks like Steve Dent is now your second placed rider. Steve Dent second, Fergus Moody in third position. Number 164 once again is Stuart Riddle on the twin port CZ, being challenged by number 89. That's Mike Bell on the BSA Gold Star. But of course the Bell family are heavily involved in the Scottish Classic scrambling scene, with Mike Bell here and his lovely wife Creena, the club chairman for the Scottish Classic Motorcycle Club. Now, Lewis Bell was going fine up until just gave the big bike, the big Jawa, too much of a handful and swapped ends. Now, as far as I'm aware, Lewis could not get the big Jawa to fire up again, so I think he ended with a DNF. So here is your new race leader. It's Steve Dent, number 585 on the Faber BSA, followed by Fergus Moody, number 122. Now this is a very good race between two very quick riders on these old British Classic BSA. So it looks like Steve Dent is going to chalk up a win in this second pre-1968 class race. Stuart Riddle coming through once again. Very steady and very quick rider, Stuart. Of course, he's been doing these classic race events for many years and is a highly experienced rider and loves riding these CZ machines. Although on this particular occasion it looks like Stuart is riding his single port CZ. Okay, here is your race leader as he heads towards the checkered flag for his first win of the day. This is Steve Dent, number 585 on the Faber BSA. Of course, we had Lewis Bell leading and Liston Bell early on in proceedings, although it looks like both of those bikes have now had a DNF. So it's a nice run to the checkered flag for number 585, Steve Dent. Okay, next up we're back to the second pre-1975 class race of the day. Remember, we had some cracking racing in that first race, so we're looking for more of the same as Tom Lewis, our starter, is waiting for the OK to let the bikes loose from the start line. And you remember it was Lewis Bell on the CCM who took the win in race 1. Lewis is on the far side of the track as they head up to take turn 1. It looks like a good start from Jonathan Bethel, number 44. Lewis Bell going round the outside in number 9 as they head to make the turn at the pylon. Looks like Jonathan Bethel's got a bit crossed up with the CCM, but he's still managed to hold on to that third position as they head down into the turn that takes them onto the far side of the racetrack. But yet again, it's another cracking start from Lewis Bell on the number 9 bike, the Alan Clues CCM. So it's Lewis Bell in first position. Jonathan Bethel is now up to second. John Fleming, number 10, in third. Keith Barnes in fourth. Stuart Roden in fifth. Gary Smith going through on the CZ. And number 125 is Ian Stainton. So as the riders cross the line for lap 1, it's still Lewis Bell, number 9, on the CCM. And he's just beginning to stretch the legs of that big Alan Clues BSA derived machine. Jonathan Bethel, number 44, is second. John Fleming is third, becoming under increasing pressure from Keith Barnes on the Clues Stroker. Number 20 is Stuart Roden. Gary Smith, number 15, on the CZ. And Ian Stainton once again going through on the CCM. And so your race leader is still Lewis Bell, number 9, who is doing superbly on that CCM. Second place is still, looks like it's Jonathan Bethel also riding a CCM. Now third place should be John Fleming on the CZ, but it's not. It's Keith Barnes who is now in third place. John Fleming has dropped down to fourth position. Stuart Rodin going through with Gary Smith on the CZ. But here is your race leader. It's Lewis Bell, number 9. Remember, Lewis won race 1 in the pre-1975 class, and he's looking very comfortable in the second race to take yet another race win. Second place is still number 44, Jonathan Bethel. Keith Barnes is still in there in third position on the Alan Clues Stroker. Jonathan Bethel there, number 44, of course, as I mentioned earlier, one of the sons of the late, great CCM legend, John Bethel. Number 20 there is Stuart Rodin, who also has been riding these big CCMs for many years and was a personal friend of the late Alan Clues. But here is your race leader, still out in front. It's number 9, Lewis Bell. Looks like he's heading towards his second win of the afternoon here at Scarfoot Farm. Number 55 is Keith Barnes on the Alan Clues Stroker. Remember I mentioned that these strokers were actually the first machines that Alan Clues built before he actually started making CCM bikes. So it's still number 9, Lewis Bell, your race leader. Second is still Jonathan Bethel. In third position is a good ride here from Keith Barnes, number 55. And it looks like John Fleming is in fourth. Number 115 here is Gary Smith coming up the hill on the CZ bike. Looks like Gary may have some kind of mechanical issue because he was riding really well in the early stages of this race. But it's win number 2 for the young rider from Scotland. Number 9, Lewis Bell on that extremely quick CCM. Second, it looks like Jonathan Bethel is going to take the runner-up spot in this second race with another good ride here by this man, number 55, Keith Barnes. Okay, next up we are back to the big boys in the pre-1984 class. Now remember, we had a fantastic race between Ryan Glendinning and David Loudon in that first race, so we'll see how things pan up as they get ready to go for this race 2. So as they leave the line, it's another good start by Ryan Glendinning. A rider going down there at the start line, but Ryan Glendinning looks like he's made a decent start. It looks like number 165 has clipped the back of one of those bikes and went down, but it's Ryan Glendinning who's making the early moves at the front of this pre-1984 class. And so as we set our eyes to the far away side of the track, it's still Ryan Glendinning on that very quick 81.490 Michael, who is your race leader. Second is David Loudon, number 75. Third is Graham Smith on the Suzuki. Fourth is one of the Sowerby boys. Number 151 is John Stokes, as the remainder of the pack make their way through. Number 43 is Andy Malloch on that 500 Armstrong. But the conditions here at Scarfoot Farm for this round 9 event is absolutely fantastic, considering the rain we had on the Saturday. But there is your new race leader. It's number 75, David Loudon, on what I think is his YZ 465 Yamaha. Now, if you've watched many of my other YouTube videos, you'll know how good these 465 Yamahas are. So it's second place to Ryan Glendinning. Number 233 there is Graham Smith on the Suzuki. 151 is John Stokes. And number 266 on the 250 Michael is unfortunately unknown to myself. Now this of course is the last and final race from this part 1 video from Scarfoot Farm, but please check out the remaining parts 2 and 3, which will be posted very soon. But here is your race leader. It's number 75, David Loudon. Second is still Ryan Glendinning, trying his very best to get onto terms with David Loudon's YZ Yamaha. Now number 156 there, that's David Bateman once again, getting passed by number 95, that's Gary Sowerby. Gary also riding very well on that 81 490 Michael. That's Andy Mallock once again on the 500 Armstrong. Very quick Andy on this big 4-stroke Armstrong machine. So it still looks like it's David Loudon, number 75, on the YZ Yamaha, who is still your race leader at this point, as he heads round to complete yet another lap. Doing extremely well at this round 9 event here at Penrith. Second place is still Ryan Glendinning, number 233 there, the yellow Suzuki of Graham Smith is being chased by number 151, sorry, that's John Stokes. Number 95 again is Gary Sowerby. A couple of the Sowerby family racing here at Scarfoot Farm. Absolutely love riding these German Michaels, and Gary looks like he's in a very good position in this second pre-1984 class race. So here is your race leader starting already to chase the tail enders in this race. That's David Loudon, number 75, on his very quick Yamaha. Now coming towards us is number 93, that's Nigel Sowerby, being followed by Graham Smith, number 233, and John Stokes there, number 151 on the 81 Michael. But here is your race leader once again. It's still David Loudon, who looks like he's going to chalk up win number 2 here at Scarfoot Farm. He has quite a substantial lead at the moment over Ryan Glendinning, but you have to be there at the end to win the race, and David Loudon crosses the line to complete another lap. Now just to clear up what I mentioned earlier, that David is riding his YZ 490 machine and not his 465 as I thought he was riding earlier on. But number 233 there is Graham Smith. Now Graham also loves riding his old IT Yamaha, which he has, and it's been a very good bike for him in the last few years, but today riding this 400 Suzuki. John Stokes there just close behind. But as our race leader comes round to take the win in the second pre-1984 class race, I do hope you've enjoyed the racing footage from this Part 1 event here at Scarfoot Farm in Penrith, and don't forget to tune in to see the remaining Parts 2 and 3, which will be coming to my YouTube channel very soon. So it's a win for David Loudon in first place, with Ryan Glendinning in second.